parle tout bas, je vois la vie en rose. Il me dit des mots d'amour, des mots de tous les jours, que ça me fait quelque chose. Il est entré dans mon cœur une part de bonheur dont je connais la cause. C'est lui pour moi, moi pour lui dans la vie. Il me l'a dit, l'a juré pour la vie. Et dès que je l'aperçois, alors je sens dans moi mon cœur qui bat.
65 years ago, on May 12, 1944, my parents, Ralph and Aimee Safdieh, were married in Bonn, Algeria. Their meeting was quite unique, and their story was a true love story. It began on a warm day in September when my father was stationed in Algeria. He got off the boat and he was walking with his friend, Eli Asher.
Alav Shalom, we're talking about Ralph and Aimee. What great people they were. The way it started, I was stationed in an airport and I used to come in once a week to this town. We're in North Africa, and we're in in Algeria. And I came one day to town, and I see Ralph Safdieh with these watches that he's selling. He was a businessman. He's selling a lot of things, and. All of a sudden we're standing, we see two girls coming down the road. As they're walking down, we walked up to them. One of them was Aimee. The other one, I'm going to call her Simha, I don't know. And in conversation, we said that we're Jewish. You're Jewish? Oh, please come up to the house. You'll see my mother and father. It's so nice. So we walked one up to the house, and sitting there is her mother and her father, Monsieur Algier. And we had conversation that day, and then I went back to my where I stay at the airport. Now a week passes by. Ralph tells me we're going to have lunch today in Aimee's house. I said, okay. Go up to Aimee's house, and we have lunch, and I keep talking Arabic to Monsieur Algier about a lot of things. He tells me he has a son that lives in Paris. Now, the third time that I came, he said, you want to come up to Aimee's house? I said, no, I really don't feel like it. He said, all right. The fourth time I come, he says, you have a big job today. I said, big job? I don't work on Sunday. He says, yeah, I want to marry Aimee, and I need for you to talk to her father to get permission. I said, Ralph, do you know that there's a war going on? He said, look, I'm not interested in a war. I want to marry Aimee. I said, then all I could say to you, Mabruk, inshallah, everything works good for you and Aimee. We get upstairs. Now I'm ready to talk to the father. You know, the father was not an easy guy. He was the supreme man running that little house that he had. And he always had that little drink, he sip on it. And he keeps telling me, this is Mayim Hayim, this is the water of life. I never heard that in my life, but that's okay. One day he said to me, would you want to take a sip? I took a sip, طلعت عرق. But I'm not going to say anything to him, I don't want to hurt his feelings. قلت له مزيان الجير اليوم نهار كويس نصيب أجل نصيب. You know what نصيب is? أجل نصيب نصيبون بيحبوا بعضهم أيمي وبيريدوا يتجوزوا وبيريدوا البرميشون منك. هلا قلت له مسيا الجيه. You know, I stared at Ralph. I mean, I was shocked what he said. He said no. I said ليش بتقول هيك؟ الغدا بياخدها لأمريكا وأنا ما بشوف بنتي anymore. قلت له نو مسيا الجير مو هيك. إذا هو راح لأمريكا ببعت لك تيكت تجي في الطيارة تشوف بنتك وتشوف أولادها. قال أوه هذه منيحة. And with that he gave us confirmation that they could get married. Okay, now we're in the synagogue.
This is the day of the wedding.
This is the day of the wedding. There's a lot of people there. And I noticed a lot of Arab women. I don't know. I said, Ralph, do you know these ladies here? He said, no, I don't know who they are. And this man, Mr. Cohen, that I know is standing there. قال لي ما بتعرف شو اليوم؟ Don't you know what today is? قلت له احكي لي. Albertine, the Mediterranean Sea is there. And this Arab boy sees a big box on the Mediterranean Sea. He gets in the water. As he got into the water, the box went away. Unusual, because the Mediterranean water is still water. So he calls his Italian friend, go up there. He went up there, the same thing happened. So they figured, let's get a Jewish boy. They get this Jewish boy, but we're going to, they decided, whatever in that box, we're all going to share, the three of us. He said, okay. And as he went in, this box came to him. These miracles are happening. He brings the box. What was in the box? A Sefer Torah. A Sefer Torah. A Sefer Torah standing up. The regular way is our Sefer Torah. Clean as a whistle. What they're going to do with the Sefer Torah? They bring it to that synagogue. It was that Sunday that was sitting up on top. And that's why these women came. Every year, it was the anniversary of that year where they go look at the Sefer Torah. Although they're Muslimin, but they had feelings for religion. There's all kinds of Muslimin. I spent 7 years and 4 months in North Africa. So I learned all about these people, what they think and everything. Well, in order to get to the wedding, we had to go up to the mayor. Because we have to sign, you can't get married, you're getting married in a country, so that you have to sign. And I went there with Simha with me. I was a witness to signing. After that, they came back. They came back. And they had the most beautiful wedding. I was the best man. I was handsome in those days. They got married, and the party they had, we walked into the room, And this girl is playing the piano and singing Arabi, beautiful Arabi song. And behind her is another girl, Al-Anoon, playing the Anoon. What a beautiful scene, and how nice it looked. Oh, by the way, I brought a friend of mine. His name is Charlie Hasni. This guy is drunk all the time. And he sees this lady, what's your name? She says, my name is Lulu. He said, Lulu had a baby, tra-la-la-la-la-la, la-la-la-la-la-la. I told Charlie, take it easy, take it easy. She's a married woman over here. Her husband is sitting next to me. The party continues. We walk into another room, a beautiful amount of food there and everything. And all these, mostly women, they're all her friends, they're all there. And they had one party after another. And now it was time for me to go back, you know. I went back. From there I went to Morocco. I was in another place. That was Algeria. It's all the way up on top. And now I'm working in Morocco. I get word that Aimee, I got word from Ralph saying that Aimee is in this hotel. Go see her. Okay. I go to the hotel, I walk in. Aimee is in her 7th month. And she says to me, they were ready to take my money. You see, she had $740. Then it was like $7,000. But then, so when she went to try to get out, they said, you give us your money and then you could go. So she stopped. That's when Ralph sent to me, go see Aimee. Took 2 days. I went to see her and I felt so bad that she's waiting 2 days, this pregnant woman. And she's trying to get in and they want to take her money. I mean, this is her, Aimee. I'm here now. Everything is good. You know how good it is? My captain, Captain Weeby, very, very good friend of mine. He's the captain, and I'm the sergeant there. We were maintaining the airport. That was our job. Captain Weeby and myself. I said, Aimee, give me the money. Come with us to the post office. She says, I don't have to go with you to the post office. Here's the money. I said, okay. Now, Captain Weeby, he's got all the authority there. We went into the post office. We made out a check to Abraham Safdieh, to his father, his late father. Made out a check. In that check, he put it in an envelope. In the beginning, he wrote, from Sergeant Eli Asher to Abraham Safdieh. From me to him. And the captain seals the letter. You see, every letter in the army any soldier has to be open, and they want to know what it is, because they may be giving information to the enemy. But here, he's the one that's in charge. There was no problem for him to close and to sign it. He said, take that and give it to Aimee. Aimee, you're home free. You don't have to worry. Nobody's going to take, here's your money. Please. And she started smiling now, because she went through a rough time sitting there for 2 days, pregnant woman. It was rough. I had the feeling, how could she, you know, this is the cutest part of everything. We go downstairs, and I have the connections. I'm part of the airport. I know who's going and who's coming. We said we want to get a ride. We went downstairs with Aimee. Want to get a ride to go. She wants to go to Brooklyn. Well, the only thing that we have is bucket seats. I says, no, bucket seats. The pregnant woman, no. He says, well, we could go to Washington, D.C. So right away I said, well, Washington, D.C. is good. But wait a minute, Washington, D.C., you said? That's where Sophie lives. Aimee, you're home. Aimee, walk up. I hope that she's home. I know, I pray she's home. Open the door for her. Now you talk.
When my brother was in Africa and he had married Aimee, and we heard that he's sending her to the States, she's either going to land in Florida, Washington, or New York. So we're all waiting. In Florida, my cousin lives there, my cousin Ray. And New York is the family, and I lived in Washington. One night, about 3 o'clock in the morning, the doorbell was ringing and ringing. So my husband and I ran down in our pajamas, whatever you want to, and we ran down, we opened the door, and we see 2 policemen. And we says, what's wrong? Then we realized it was the army. I think they were colonels. And we see a little woman, very, very short and round. Then I realized it's my sister-in-law. She came in, we hugged and we kissed and everything, and she kept saying, Avon, Avon. I don't know what Avon is. She forgot her fur piece on the plane. Later on I found out. And in Washington we couldn't fly because of the war, so I took her by train to New York. As the train pulls up in Pennsylvania Station, we see a lot of people jumping and dancing, and the train stops and we get out. The whole family's there with their shoes off, dancing and singing to meet Aimee. And whoever knew any French word would yell it out. And then she came. My brother told her, you're going to a mansion. She comes and sees this little house on 67th Street. And after that, my mother and father and Aimee were very, very close and happy until my brother came back. When his son Aimee was born, my brother was in Texas because he broke his arm. He wasn't there for the bris. But I don't remember. Julie, did we have a bejeweled? We had a bejeweled, yeah. I don't remember if my brother was there for the bejeweled. I think somebody sat in this. Somebody sat instead of him. And that's it.
When was Aimee born?
I don't know.
February 45.
Aimee was born on February
February 1945.
February 1945. His son was born, Abraham,
Maybe.
named after my father.
And then how long after did Uncle Ralph come?
I don't remember. I don't remember her. I think he must have been discharged a couple of months later.
And how did they communicate language? Tell them a story about the egg.
She worked for the CIA.
Oh, the morning after Aimee arrived at my parents' house, my father asked her, "What would you like to have for breakfast?" She told him, "A dom." In English, it means bones. So he went to the butcher and he brought a big bag of bones. And he gives it to Aimee. She tells him, "No, Papa, no, Papa, bones." So he opens the refrigerator. "What would you like?" She takes out an egg and shows him that it meant it was an egg.
My mother and father were very special people. My father and my mother told me the story of how they met, which is very romantic. When my father got to Algeria, he got off the boat or off the train or from however he got there, and he saw a beautiful woman wearing a Jewish star. And he walked over to her and he said, "Are you Jewish?" And my mother said, "I can't talk to you. I'm not allowed to talk to soldiers." So he says, "I just want to know where the shul is," because it was Shabbat, it was Friday night, and he wanted to go to shul. So she said, "I'm sorry, I'm very sorry, I can't really speak with you." The next day, my father went to shul, and my grandfather always brought home the American soldiers, the Jewish soldiers. And he brought my father home for lunch. And my father didn't know it was the house of my mother. When he got to the house, he saw my mother and he said, "Oh my God, I can't believe what a coincidence this is." And he looked at her and he just fell in love with her. And from that day on, he just went to the house and brought her pancakes and fruits and all kinds of things that was not available during wartime. So one day, after a few weeks of him visiting her, I guess he visited her with no one else knowing, he told her, he goes, "Look, I want to marry you." And she said, "Marry you? Well, what are you, crazy? I can't leave my family. I can't go to America. I can't, leave." So he says, "Don't worry." He says, "I'll speak to your father." And then he sent Mr. Asher to his best friend to go speak to my grandfather. And he spoke with him, and my grandfather said, "Okay, that would be fine with me. I just need to know what kind of family they're from, what kind of family he comes from." And they sent the rabbi, my grandfather's rabbi, wrote a letter to Rabbi Kassin, and Rabbi Kassin wrote back and said that the Safdieh family is a very good family, and that if your daughter marries Ralph Safdieh, he will be very, very happy. She'll be very, very happy, and he'll always take care of her, and he'll always do anything to be the best husband of all times. And you shouldn't worry. And they had these two letters, and the two rabbis, spoke, or not spoke, but they wrote. And my grandmother Safdieh, sent a ring in an envelope and sent it to Algeria, which was like a totally impossible thing to do during the war. She got the ring in this little envelope, a ring, and my mother put it on. It was an engagement ring. And they were engaged, and then after that they got married.
How am I going to begin this beautiful love story between my father and mother, Ralph Safdieh and Aimee Elgir? My father was picked out to go into the army, going to France. to go to Algeria. And while he was in Algeria, he became an NP, and he also became an interpreter for General Ike Eisenhower, because my father knows Arabic, and over there they only spoke Arabic and French. So my father and Eli Asher were interpreters. One Friday night, they were looking for a shul. They both walked in, and my grandfather, Haim Elgir, brought them in, sat them down, and there were also other soldiers there. And you get to take a few home with you. So my grandfather took my father and Eli Asher to his home, and when they walked into the home for a Friday night meal, he was met by Beya Elgir, that's my grandmother, and the rest of the family. And my grandfather said, now we could speak to them because they speak Arabic like us, while the other soldiers that used to come in only spoke English. He met my mother there. They fell in love. This is a real love story. My father used to bring her chocolates and pancakes, like my sister Beatrice said, and other things because they couldn't get it. He used to get it from the canteen. My father was always a happy, jolly person. They liked him. He proposed to my mother. They got married in a military wedding with the swords. After they got married, my mother was pregnant with me, and he had to fly her back to the States because if she went by boat, it was dangerous. And on these planes, it was only military people. General Eisenhower signed a piece of paper that she had permission to go on the plane, on the military plane. She stopped off at Casablanca to catch the plane, and she didn't know where she was going, either Washington, D.C., Boston, because my Aunt Sabut was there, or New York. It was 3 ways, but it was secret. So she wound up in Washington. She met my Aunt Sophie Shabbat and Julia Shabbat and the kids. They took a train back to New York. My Aunt Sophie asked my mother, are you hungry? And she said, yes. This is all in Arabic. She opened the magazine and she pointed at a picture. She wanted a big red apple. They got her that. She gets off. They went. She met her future in-laws, Abraham Safdieh and Sarah Safdieh. They greeted her with open arms. They took her into the home, and she got along nicely with them because she spoke her Arabic. Then after that, my sister Jacqueline was born, my brother Henry was born, and then a couple of years later, my father went to the Philippines, started a factory there, learned how to kill chickens because he was a religious man. He wanted us all to follow the religion. Rabbi Heck taught him how to become a shochet. My mother, who's an excellent cook, beautiful woman, did everything to improvise so we wouldn't miss any of the meats. We ate chicken and fish for over 2 years. She was my parents were excellent entertainers. Hosts and hostesses. The house was always open to anybody that came from the States for a kosher meal and enjoyed themselves. My mother, at any time, my father would bring somebody open to the house. There was always a spread there. We stayed there a number of years. We didn't go out of the religion. We learned everything, kosher, Shabbat, everything. And it was time for us to go back to New York. We went back to New York to grow up in the community, be with the community, the Syrian community. Then comes my little baby sister a year after we came, the cutest little thing. Then and my parents always had an open house. Everybody used to come in. My mother cooked internationally. My father was always a very generous man. His hands were always open to help people, laughing, joking. We always had a happy home. And he kept going back and forth to the Philippines. My mother raised us. He used to come back. We used to go on trips together, all 4 of us, my parents and my siblings. And he kept a very happy family, and he was well-liked. And my mother was well-liked with everybody in the community. What could I tell you? This is till the very end, this was a love story. They didn't leave each other. And it was always Sheri, my amour. He always called that because that's their love. I think I'm getting a little emotional. Thank you very much. Okay, one important thing that I forgot to mention. They wrote a book about my father. How I got that story And the author put the title, Some of My Best Friends Are MP. This was in Italy. And he met this reporter, and he took him around in Italy. And my father used to tell us these stories, what he used to do and all that stuff. We never used to believe him. And then the book came out. And that's why now whatever he tells us, whether it's true or not, we believe him. And that's how we got the story, and he's in this book. Thank you. Bye-bye.
My parents started off with a true love story. And unfortunately, they ended it that way too. They were never separated a day in their life other than my father traveling to the Orient and to the Philippines on business. But they always wanted to be together, and they always were together. And they died very young, at a very young age, in their 60s, their early 60s, a year apart from each other. And they're together now, and they'll always be together in heaven and forever. And we'll always remember them as two very beautiful and very special people in our lives. And we talk about them to our children and our grandchildren, and we always talk about Grandpa and Nanny. Thank you for listening to our story.
Mon cœur qui bat.